If you're a volume eater like me, then you know how satisfying eating an entire pizza to the face can be. I mean, how can you go wrong with bread and cheese? But if you have fitness goals to reach, then eating a whole large pizza to yourself every day might not be the best idea. Unless you're following my recipes, in which case you're right on track to eat pizza and continue being the best version of yourself. You heard that correctly. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Amanda, aka Fit Food AE. And today we're going to be making 5 high protein, low calorie pizza recipes. So the 5 varieties of pizzas we have today are classic cheese, white mushroom, garlic fingers, deep dish, and stuffed crust. So if you're excited to see me make these recipes, please give this video a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, as it really helps the channel and I post new videos every week. And with that, let's get started. So for our first recipe, we've got a classic cheese pizza. Wanted to keep it simple for the first one. And honestly, guys, all these recipes are simple, especially the crust. I wanted it to be easy to make, nothing crazy, and I wanted you guys to kind of have the ingredients lying around. So if you guys are OGs, you'll know that for the longest time, I didn't have a rolling pin, but look at this little cute duo thing from Temu. So there's this like rubber rolling pin pat, or I don't even know what it's called, guys. But anyway, rolling pin, and it's matching like rubber thing. It makes it way easier to roll the dough. So I'm kind of rolling it as thinly as possible, as you can see, in a circle. That's because we want this to be a large, thin crust pizza. So I rolled it out to about like 10 inches or so. So I have this circular baking sheet. Try to get one that has the holes so the pizza crust bakes a bit better. And then, as you can see here, I'm kind of just making a little bit of a crust around it. Not a thick crust, just like a little thin crust there. So just gonna do that all around. If there's like little holes in the crust from spreading it too thin, that's totally fine. Those will kind of seal up when baking. This circle is as best as it's gonna get. So we're gonna add some marinara. Marinara is super low in calories, which is great. So just spread it out to be as even as you can. And then in terms of the cheese, I used low-fat mozzarella. Now, I know in the US, you guys have fat-free cheese. I don't think we have that in Canada. So if you want to use that, I feel like that might be even lower in calories, but I feel like fat-free cheese might not melt as well. So low-fat totally works as well. One thing I will say, guys, is depending on your macros and like how cheesy you want the pizza, you could put less cheese, more cheese. You could put different types of cheese. But yeah, for this particular pizza, just kept it super simple. There you go. It looks so good. It actually turned out better than I expected. I added some oregano on top. I ended up baking it for 20 minutes and then broiling it for the last 2. Broiling is totally optional, and honestly, I'd recommend baking it for 15 and then checking, because you just never know. Pizza cutter, totally optional. Honestly, mine is not very good, I feel like. Look at that cheese pull. So delicious. I love me a thin crust pizza. I cut it into 8 slices because #volume eating, but you could really do whatever you want. You could even like bite into it if you want to. I feel like don't do that. That means you're a psycho. And yeah, I dug into this right after. It was so delicious. Eat it while it's hot. So this next recipe is similar to the first one, honestly, guys. It's a white pizza with mushrooms on it. Now, I know some people don't like white pizza, so if you don't like it, just skip it. But yeah, we use the exact same crust, so maybe if this is the second pizza you're making, you're gonna be a bit better at mixing and pulling out the crust. If the dough gets too hard to mix towards the end, feel free to just use your hands to roll it up like that. By the way, if you don't have a rolling pin or this little rubber mat, I'd recommend just using like a wine bottle or a glass, pretty much anything you have. And then yeah, flouring the area makes it a lot easier. Again, I don't count that little sprinkle of flour in the macros. I know a lot of people are gonna comment that, but yeah, just makes it easier to spread out. If yours isn't a perfect circle, that's totally fine. I had to kind of like play around with it in order to make it better, because again, I'm like, this is gonna be on camera. Now I learned a trick, guys. For this rubber mat, I just put it face down like that and then peeled it, which makes it super easy. But again, if you don't have that, you can literally just do it the old-fashioned way. Just be a bit more careful when putting the crust back onto the sheet. Also, make sure to use parchment paper and spray with cooking spray. I actually don't think you need to spray it with cooking spray, but I just do it just in case because I'm super scared of it sticking. It's funny, you'd think that Alfredo sauce is super high in calories. It's actually not. There's this brand called Classico, and they make pretty low calorie Alfredo sauce, and it's super creamy. Would highly recommend using that. And then, yeah, just spreading it out with the back of a spoon. That's the easiest thing to do. So I use the same light mozzarella cheese. If you want, you can also add Parmesan, or you can add like different types of cheese, because that'll kind of simulate like classic white pizza. But again, if we're trying to be macro friendly, just use one kind of cheese. In terms of the mushrooms, I used oyster mushrooms, which I know are more expensive, but guys, I absolutely love oyster mushrooms. And then I just like kind of rip them up into tiny pieces. Don't put too big of pieces on there because it's a thin crust. We don't want the toppings to like weigh it down, right? So you can really use any mushrooms you want. Then we're just gonna pop it into the oven. Again, I put it in for 20 minutes. If you want, after 15 minutes, you can remove the parchment paper and bake for the last 5 minutes without the parchment paper. Does it make a difference? I honestly don't know. I think I did it for one of these recipes, and for the other, I just kept it in for 20 minutes. Again, adding some oregano, doing that cheese pull, delish. By the way, if you don't get a cheese pull, that's totally fine. It's gonna taste the exact same. Let me know in the comments, do you cut your pizza up into 4 slices or 8 slices? I feel like 8 slices is a bit annoying, but again, it makes it feel like you're eating more. I absolutely love this white pizza, and I can't wait for you guys to try it. So next up, we've got a stuffed crust pizza. If you've been on my channel for a while, then you've probably seen this recipe before, but if you're new, you haven't been keeping up with my videos, then welcome to one of the best performing recipes on my channel. Who knew that a stuffed crust pizza could be made macro friendly? I hadn't eaten a stuffed crust pizza since I was like a kid, maybe in like elementary school, but I don't know what sparked the idea. Maybe I saw it somewhere. It's honestly way easier to make than you think. You kind of just follow the same dough method there. This one is higher in calories than the other recipes in this video, but it's worth it, guys. Trust me, 100%. So I filmed this recipe, I think, before I had a rolling pin. So you can see what you do here if you don't have a rolling pin. So I just put it on like a wooden surface. I flattened out with my hands first just to make it a little bit easier. By the way, I really miss that nail color. And then, yeah, you kind of just go in with like a cup or whatever you have. And it works, guys. Honestly, it works. But I would highly recommend investing in a rolling pin if you're planning on making more of my recipes. And I don't know why I didn't get one sooner. So you're gonna buy these things called cheese strings, or if you're not buying the main brand, that's totally fine. You can buy kind of whatever you have there. And then you're gonna use 2 of them and cut them into 4 pieces each. You could like rip it, or you could just use like a butter knife to cut it. And you're kind of just gonna place them around like so, and you can probably see where this is going. Afterwards, you're gonna carefully just like roll the dough over the cheese strings. And then if you want, you could use a fork to kind of like seal it, or you could just use your fingers. So obviously you could see this pizza looks smaller than the other ones, but trust me guys, it packs a punch. Like it's way more filling than the other pizzas, obviously, because there's that stuffed crust. We're gonna use kind of the same marinara sauce there, or you can use the white sauce, honestly, whatever you want. And then again, I decided to use the light shredded mozzarella cheese. You could use whatever cheese there. You can even use cheddar if you're feeling crazy. If you're lactose intolerant, then I feel like this pizza is either like the best idea ever or the worst idea ever. Probably the worst, but then you're gonna love it as you're eating it. So this everything bagel seasoning crust, this is totally optional, but I personally love it. Like spraying a bit of cooking spray and then putting everything bagel seasoning makes the crust like crispy and improves the texture. I think I wanted to do the everything bagel crust for the other recipes, but I just like couldn't find it at the grocery store. So carefully place it on the baking tin. I use aluminum foil this time instead of parchment paper. Honestly, you can kind of use whatever you have. Look at that. Oh my God, that cheese. It looks amazing. I love how the cheese kind of like is oozing out of the crust like that. So good and decadent. This is proof that your favorite foods or like your childhood memories, you don't need to skip out on those just because you're trying to lose weight or eating in a calorie deficit. You can still enjoy these things. And for this one, you might want to use scissors rather than a pizza cutter. And I decided to cut it into 4 pieces. And of course, wanted to get that cheese pull with the crust. This looks so good. Kind of wish I had this in front of me. This next recipe is garlic fingers or garlic sticks, cheesy breadsticks, whatever you want to call them. These were inspired by ones you could get at like Pizza Hut or like any pizza place. Sometimes you just don't feel like pizza sauce. You kind of just want like the bread and the cheese. I don't know how to describe it, but it can be so satisfying. And I love the taste of garlic. Maybe just like brush your teeth after or make sure to not have any plans after you eat this. But again, pretty similar to some of the other recipes here. But one thing that I did differently for this recipe is I actually rolled the dough out into like a rectangle as opposed to a circle. Don't ask why. Like you can literally, I think it's because I wanted it to be kind of like fingers, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. You can roll it out into any shape you want. Another thing that I did here, trying to make it more of a rectangle, is I wet the back of the spoon and I kind of made it into more of a rectangle, as you can see here. There we have it. So now we're gonna put it onto the baking tin. Same thing I did here, just like plopping it on and then tearing off that little rubber thing. And then after we do that, we're gonna add the toppings. So for the toppings, I actually use this like garlic paste. Basically, it's minced garlic, but in a paste form. And we're not gonna actually have any crust here because they're like garlic fingers. So we're actually gonna spread out the paste to the edges and then just use that same cheese. Again, we're gonna put the cheese all over and not leave the edges because we're not doing a crust in this one. Really wanted to make it extra cheesy here. Again, feel free to add other cheese like Parmesan or whatever. And then I decided to add little green onions. This is totally optional. I don't know why I added these. I just wanted kind of like a pop of color, some veggies. You could also do chives or like any kind of other onions, but yeah, just wanted to do that. And look at that, so good. I was thinking, I feel like this would be really good to pair with like donair sauce. I feel like that's the classic thing to pair it with, but didn't have time to make a macro-friendly version of that. Comment down below if you guys want me to do like a whole garlic finger donair sauce thing. I'd be happy to do that. Really love how the green onions added a pop of color. This looks so decadent and delicious. It reminds me of something I would like eat in university, but I'm eating it right now at age 29 and you can eat it too. We are down to our final recipe. This is a deep dish pizza in a skillet. Now guys, I know some of you might comment and be like, why is it filmed the opposite way? And this is because I filmed this recipe for Instagram/TikTok and I'd filmed it in the past and I didn't film like a YouTube version of it, but I was like, you know what? I want to include it in this video. And I feel like it's fine. So it's super easy. Honestly, like you could probably make your own pizza crust, but I decided to just use the Pillsbury one because it makes it way more simple. And if you spread it out, it makes it macro friendly. So again, for this recipe, you're gonna need a 6-inch or like 6.5-inch mini cast iron skillet and make sure to spray it with cooking spray. My goal with this is like deep dish pizza is normally seen as like the ultimate like high calorie comfort food, but we can make it accessible to those trying to eat in a calorie deficit. And no, that doesn't mean that we're just gonna eat one piece. And also, I feel like if you're not in Chicago, nowhere actually sells deep dish pizza, or at least I don't really see it in Canada that much. So we're gonna make it at home. So now for our toppings, we're starting off with the cheese. So we're gonna add that light mozzarella cheese. And then we're gonna add mushrooms. I added oyster mushrooms again because I'm obsessed. and then we're adding the sauce. So kind of interesting with deep dish pizzas, it works a little bit differently. Also, I feel like there are different versions of deep dish pizza, and some of them might be adding the sauce first, but correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is the right way to do it. So just spread out the sauce with a spoon, make sure all the toppings are even there. And then we're gonna add some Parmesan on top. And this is like the star of the show. It's so good. You're gonna have to be patient with the baking time for this one because it takes longer than the other ones. So I just use a pizza cutter here. It's a little bit stubborn, again, especially at the kind of crust points, but it's worth it, trust me. And look at that cheese pull. So good. Honestly, this is one that you're gonna wanna wait until it's done cooling down to stick your face into it. Otherwise, you're gonna burn your tongue off. But this is so delicious. Healthy because of the oyster mushrooms. No, I'm kidding. Healthy because it's a good portion and perfect for those eating a calorie deficit but still want to enjoy a nice deep dish pizza. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed these recipes, then I'm sure you're looking for more lunch, dinner recipes. So I'm gonna link a couple other videos here that you should watch next. And please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, as it really helps the channel, and I post new videos every week. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.